Yeah, there is one. Yeah. Wait, you don't have to.
Find themselves in terms of creating that problem. So, do they find their interests adequately represented? Do they feel comfortable in pooling sovereignty to that level, to that extent? So, all of these questions come up. Now, when I talk about the challenge of diversity, I'm basically looking at what is happening to European Union states, the member states themselves, when they become diverse over a period of time. So what first thing which we talk about is the nature of diversity. So diversity is a factor of life, right? India, we know very well, diversity is a factor of life. We are not quite comfortable with it. We may have hiccups at different points of time, right? But over by and large, we know that it is a part of our life and we accept it. So diversity in one sense is something which one can understand is a fact of life, but not always it's something which is easily accepted. That is what we will see. That is why I say, why is it a challenge? Because sometimes it is not very easy to accept that diversity, and especially when you look at it in the format of a nation state, right? When you talk of a nation state, the idea is that it is something which is homogeneous in terms of its identity. Right? When you look at European states, because from there you see the question or the understanding of nation state emerges, post-Westphalian system, and where you find the idea is that there is homogeneity, where one nation, right? People, when you talk about people within a nation, they have certain criteria because of which they become part of that nation state. So you have to say, you share a common customs, culture, maybe also language, traditions. So that's something which is, in one sense, the idea is that when you're talking of the nation state, you're talking about homogeneity. An example which will keep coming up is France, right? And if you read one of the scholars who have been writing on France and the formation of the French nation state, Eugene Weber, and she's talking basically about how the French nation state was formed, because when it was formed, so far as the French language itself was concerned, there were very many dialects, so not one standardized language. And when in the course of the formation of that language, they went to the extremes where the children who would speak various languages in the schools, various dialects, who did not form that new standardized language, they were given punishments. There was shaming, right? Shaming is what? And punishment so severe that if you were found to not speak standardized French, then that child would be punished by putting a brick on his hand or her hand. Right? So you have to carry that brick till you found another person who did a similar mistake and then pass it on. So that kind of say policy or kind of commitment to standardize. So it's not something which is so open. What I'm basically trying to say is why we talk about diversity being a fact of life, when you are looking at it from the context of the nation state, the idea is to create an homogeneity. Because states are more comfortable to deal with people who are homogeneous. You have to make one set of policies instead of various set of policies to look into the various different interests of different people. So that is why it has become a challenge. Now in Europe, what is the manifestation of this challenge? That is something which we will look at. Then strategies to tackle this challenge, what kind of strategies they develop, and what complicates this challenge. So roughly we are going to basically look at these aspects when we are looking at the question of diversity. Now when we are looking at the nature of diversity in Europe and the various European states, one I would talk of is, one way of looking at it would be, as I say, foundational diversity. Which means, as I said, that in the course of their very coming into being as nation states, some states were in one sense diverse. Diverse in the sense, for instance, if you're looking at UK, you are well aware that United Kingdom is basically composed of various units, like we have various states which come together to form the Indian federal state. So there you have Scotland, you have Wales, you have Northern Ireland, and England, which then together become UK. So in one sense, it's a foundational diversity. So they're basically something which has been there since its forming of a nation state. Similarly, in Spain, some of you may be aware that very recently in Spain there was a problem of the Catalans. So Catalonia, Basques, they are part of that Spanish state and a diversity which is in one sense historical. So when I'm talking about the foundational diversity, basically drawing a diversity which is there from in one sense from the onset of how the national imagination, Anderson, right? National imagination, imagine community. So you're basically trying to imagine community with this diversity. The other which you see is, which is more recent and more problematic in one sense, which is the immigrant